getting ready for hurricane season.
And see how likely you are to experience a disaster in the next few years.
Caplin News is live with tips in case disaster strikes your area. Animals at risk.
With people working very closely with, an affected species, people, like veterinarians.
A virus that is leaving people alarmed for their health. And diving into the Spanish culture.
So filling too, and it's a good little appetizer before your entree.
With a simple staple food that attracts tourists. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Valentina Gaspari.
I'm Ivan Ilevsky. Today is Friday, May 17th, 2024.
Live from the Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
The start of hurricane season is 2 weeks away, but experts say the time to prepare financially is now. With more than 14 tornadoes nationwide in the last 3 weeks, we're learning that storm repair is costing more this year.
Caplin News reporter Julian Davis is live at the National Hurricane Center in West Miami-Dade with tips on how to help your wallet weather take the storm.
About 2 weeks from today, hurricane season officially starts, and with this rapidly approaching around the corner, Floridians should not only be physically preparing for the storm before and after it hits, but financially as well. This spring has brought some wild weather. The Storm Prediction Center confirmed at least 200 tornadoes over more than 2 straight weeks. Split-second damage requiring long-term recovery.
It's going to be just a lot of work to get this back in shape again.
The weather is changing. So even if you've never experienced a disaster before, you need to do some research on your area and see how likely you are to experience a disaster in the next few years.
Shannon Martin of Bankrate says these storms are a reminder to prepare for potential disaster by battening down your financial hatches, especially ahead of hurricane season, which begins June 1st.
For your insurance, you should speak with your agent and make sure to inquire about any coverage gaps. Depending on where you live, things like wind and wildfire might be excluded. Flood and earthquakes are generally always excluded from your policy. So if you don't have separate standalone policies, you might really leave yourself open for a big financial loss.
Martin says you can get your physical house in order as well. Get your roof inspected, test garage doors, seal gaps. Think about how to cover windows before the storm hits. The kind of disaster may change across the country. Great Plains tornadoes, California wildfires, and even Florida flooding. But a spokesperson for nonprofit industry association, the Insurance Information Institute, says last year, homeowners insurance costs jumped around an average of 10 to 12% nationwide. And in some states like Florida, insurers are pulling out of more disaster-prone markets, leaving homeowners with fewer options, often at even higher costs. Now, if you need any more information on what supplies to prepare for this hurricane season, you can visit the National Weather Service website at www.weather.gov. Reporting live in Miami for Caplin News, I'm Julian Davis.
At least 4 people are dead this morning after more strong storms slammed the south. In the Houston area, a building partially collapsed and the windows shattered in some of the city's skyscrapers. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida are some of the states that were also affected. The storm system continues to move through states farther east.
This morning, a father in Palm Beach County is under arrest after a near tragedy took place at a Sam's Club. 42-year-old Raul Rielo Fernandez is charged with leaving his 3-year-old daughter inside his scorching hot vehicle for several minutes. Surveillance video shows him Mother's Day shopping in West Palm Beach last weekend. The footage shows Fernandez inside the store, but never the child. The commotion around the parked SUV was what made Fernandez realize what just happened.
Good Samaritans apparently opened the car. It was unlocked, took the child out of the car seat. When they found the girl, she was profusely sweating. She was red, flushed, and crying.
Police say the temperature in the car rose to at least 117 degrees Fahrenheit. If you ever see a child in distress inside the car like this scenario, police say to call 911 immediately and get help.
We have learned this morning that an associate of Sean Diddy Combs, who was arrested in South Florida, will not be serving a prison sentence. Brendan Paul accepted a plea deal yesterday. His case will be dismissed after he completes a 6-month drug abuse course. Paul was arrested at Miami International Airport back on March 25th. Combs is not mentioned in Paul's arrest affidavit.
A dramatic rise in childhood emergency room visits could lead to new safety changes in the melatonin industry. A March CDC report discovered that children have been taking the hormone supplement which helps regulation sleep without adult supervision. Caplin's Melissa Crickler reports on more changes that could be coming.
A dramatic rise in childhood emergency rooms could lead to new safety changes in the melatonin industry. Demand for supplements with melatonin has skyrocketed over the last decade.
It's a long time coming.
In recent years, demand for these supplements has skyrocketed, and along with it, children ending up in the hospital after taking melatonin while unsupervised.
You know, the cap is open, the child takes it because it's flavored, it's a flavored gummy, and it almost, quite honestly, it tastes like candy. So they take it.
Melatonin can help induce sleep or aid in changing someone's internal sleep clock or cycle.
The thing we're most worried about, it has a central nervous system effect. It makes the children so sleepy that they are hard to wake up.
As a dietary supplement, melatonin does not have to go through FDA approval for safety, effectiveness, or labeling before it is sold in the public. But now, the Council has issued new voluntary guidelines, including new labels to warn about the dangers of drowsiness and choking hazards for small children if not chewed properly. The Council also stresses the need for makers to adopt child safety containers. I'm Melissa Crickler, and I'm reporting for Caplin News.
Tragedy strikes as a 14-year-old passed away of a heart attack after participating in the infamous one-chip challenge. Harris Wallabaugh, who had a heart defect, tried to do the chip challenge, where he lives near in Boston, eating what some dubbed the spiciest chip in the world. It is seasoned with both Carolina Reaper pepper and the Naga Viper pepper, which have a high concentration of capsaicin, the natural chemical in chili peppers that makes them spicy. The company voluntarily pulled their chip off the shelves following Wallabaugh's death.
With reports of bird flu back in the news this morning, there's rising concern about how the virus is transmitted and who is at risk. Caplin News reporter Jennifer Barban takes a look at the preparations some veterinarians are taking.
Avian influenza, also known as bird flu, continues to be a topic of conversation among many people, including veterinarians.
We're required every 3 years to take continuing education, mandated by the USDA, basically in prevention and mitigation of foreign animal diseases.
As an associate veterinarian with Circle P Veterinary Services, Hartley says while they are trained to identify and treat diseases like this among animals, some clients are concerned about catching it themselves. But he assures them of low-level risk.
There have been cases of bird flu or avian influenza that have, affected people. At this point, a lot of those are kind of isolated incidents, with people working very closely with, an affected species, people, like veterinarians or, poultry workers, things like that, who have constant contact.
Right now, experts say the newer cases are still isolated to dairy cows, but can also put other animals at risk.
It is affecting dairy cattle, but it's not nearly as deadly to them as it is to poultry. As a matter of fact, we've not seen any deaths from, or very few or no deaths from this from dairy cattle.
A vet's advice is simple. Stay protected when handling at-risk animals.
Mitigating, us bringing diseases onto a property that we may be having on our clothes or boots or, trucks or on our person. And then also making sure that anything that we, encounter on property stays on property.
That was Caplin's Jennifer Barban reporting. A case published recently in the New England Journal of Medicine says a U.S. farm worker caught bird flu after working with dairy cattle in Texas. It happens to be the first known case of mammal-to-human transmission of the virus.
Valentina, do you think a taco is a sandwich?
Listen, Ivana, I don't think so, but find out why the owner of a food business had to get a judge to weigh in.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
I really love croquetas because it's so crispy and there's so many different things that you can put inside them. You can put them with ham, you can put them with meat.
A student reporter travels thousands of miles from South Florida only to find food that reminds her of home. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
FIU wasn't really my first choice, but, you know, I grew up wanting to be a Hurricane, but that didn't work out, so I'm here now, I guess.
Hey, man. Your shoes untied.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
Should have done that against Georgia Tech.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
Food fight as countries across the Spanish-speaking world lay claim to the same dish. Croquetas are undeniably part of South Florida cuisine, but they got their start on the other side of the Atlantic.
Kaplin's Christina J. Harris is studying abroad in Spain and found out just how popular they still are.
You might have seen these right here if you're a Miami citizen or have lived there at any point. Croquetas is a Spanish cuisine that originated right here in Spain, and similar to Miami, people crave their irresistible and delicious taste.
Croquetas is the Spanish way to use leftovers. From meat to cheese or even veggies, you can make croquetas out of anything.
I really love croquetas because it's so crispy and there's so many different things that you can put inside them. You can put them with ham, you can put them with meat, but my personal favorite is ham and cheese, and I love it because it's so filling too, and it's a good little appetizer before your entree.
Mix it so that it's very creamy. No, and it's maybe sometimes you need to do it several times to get the right texture of creaminess, and it doesn't fall apart when you roll them up and put them in the breadcrumbs. You can use cheese, you can use meat, you can use ham, you can use just about, I've made croquetas of everything. It's a great way, they freeze very well, and it's a great way to have an instant meal when you get home and it's like, oh my God, I don't have anything.
In many Spanish restaurants, they are often served with tapas, a variety of savory dishes, or even served as an appetizer.
Croquetas are perfect for breakfast, a late night snack, or even an appetizer, and they're perfect for any time of the day. Reporting from Sevilla, Christina J. Harris, Caplin News.
Can a taco be considered a type of sandwich? This is a question that could determine the fate of a local Mexican restaurant in Indiana. A man named Martin Quintana opened his restaurant Famous Taco in an area designated to only have restaurants that serve sandwiches. The case went to court where Quintana made an argument that tacos are just Mexican sandwiches, and the judge seemed to agree. Famous Taco is staying open after the judge ruled that tacos and burritos are in fact sandwiches. You're watching Newsbreak, and we're coming right back.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family, and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depressing stuff. That's what white people think. You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Ioani Lewski.
And I'm Valentina Gaspar. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.